So tell us about Seeds and what planted the seed.
Oh, Seeds is I've kind of been billing it as a, psychosexual fairy tale, and they originated with this idea that we all kind of struggle with desires in some form or another, and those desires sometimes can take over the way that we think and the way that we act, and whether it be something as simple as alcohol. And I kind of wanted to take something that was, I knew that I wanted to go into a darker place with whatever story that I was going to tell, and it kind of manifested from, I read a lot of Joseph Campbell when I was younger, and where myths originate from. And so that had kind of always stuck with me. And I was certainly, of course, a big Stephen King fan, and had read a lot of his work when I was a young kid, and just always loved horror films, loved watching stuff that made you uncomfortable. And I guess one of the things I've heard consistently about this film is I made a very uncomfortable film, in a different way than I think some other horror films make you feel uncomfortable. But I think it's this moral compass that we all have within ourselves that we have to answer to, and we all have to answer to something to some degree or another, whether you want to call it God or you want to call it karma or the powers that be. And I think that's really kind of what was at the heart of what this story was, is this struggle that both Marcus and Lily are going through, and how the creature in the story kind of is really, you could view it potentially even as a manifestation of their guilt and their struggle, and that they have to answer to this dilemma, that they're both trying to come to terms with.
And I think horror is the perfect genre to be able to kind of push those boundaries and really take a deep explorative insight into the psyche and or even the social commentary.
Absolutely. I think if there wasn't, if this film had been in a different genre, and if it wasn't in this genre, then I think that it would have had a more difficult time than it already has. And I think that there's no question that it's amazing that I've gotten actually the best response really from women. And I did not anticipate that going into this. And I think a lot of that had to do with the fact that my wife, who was a producer on this film, really kind of helped from the script stage, to shooting, to the editing process, and made sure that I stayed on track with what are these struggles that we go through. I think I can bring it to my table as a man, but as she as a young woman, and could bring that and say, look, we all at one point when we were younger and we were women, we realized that we do have a certain power that we can wield, and I think that's one of the things that was such a hard, balancing act and thread to weave, into telling this story and telling it successfully. So it could have easily gone to the wrong way.
And from talking to you, I get the feeling as well that you weren't prepared to compromise on this story. You were going to stick to your guns and tell the story that you wanted to tell. Was that a challenge? Or?
Absolutely, it was. For better or for worse, I did stick to my guns, and I knew that it was not going to be a film that was going to be everybody's cup of tea. That there were going to be people that were lovers and haters, and there was going to be people walking out, and there was going to be people that were really uncomfortable. But I think I did want to tell a film that really opened up dialogue and conversation, and that someone would walk out of the movie theater and it would spark reaction. And not just to spark reaction, but to open up it to conversations about something that is there and it's in our society, and it's kind of really just brushed under the rug, and we don't want to talk about it now. And now I think with everything that's happening, within this consciousness of people's rights, whether it be a man or a woman, and taking advantage of someone, it even makes it that much more prevalent.